Stripping out all that functionality from Windows doesn't come without a cost, and so you also need to be prepared for some of the gotchas associated with deploying Nano Server and then running services on top. As I've said already, Nano Server is designed to be entirely headless, or almost entirely headless. There is no local logon capability. There is no local graphical user interface outside of the very basic, very thin text-based interface that you'll see here in just a second. That text-based interface provides you the abilities to just merely adjust some, but not all, of the usual configurations that you're used to working with in deploying out a new operating system. As you'll find, you'll be able to, for example, adjust the IP address, for example, for the machine, but not the DNS server. So there's extra work required in order to get these Nano servers up and operational in ways that sort of drive you automatically towards the use of automation in spinning them up. Nano Server supports only 64-bit applications like a lot of operating systems these days, and Nano Server also cannot serve as an Active Directory domain controller. A Nano Server can be joined to a domain, it just can't be used as actually an Active Directory domain controller itself. Also, group policy is not supported. The entire group policy engine is something that focuses more of its attentions there on the full desktop experience version of Windows. And so you won't be finding yourself using group policy for managing the different configurations here for Nano Server. But the use of desired state configuration is supported. You might argue that Microsoft is sort of shifting its attentions away from the use of group policy for really the management of the operating system beyond what you usually see there with remote desktop services and that full graphical user interface, and shifting its attentions there towards the use of desired state configuration. So this lack of group policy support is really not surprising on the part of Microsoft, just because of how much attention they've put and investment they've put in the generation and maintenance there of DSC. Your Nano server cannot be configured to use a proxy server to access the internet, which can be an issue if you have the need to reach out onto the internet to grab, for example, different packages to download there onto the Nano server itself. So be prepared for that if you have need to reach out into remote locations to grab some of the different packages that exist there in some of the PowerShell repositories. Also, certain elements there of System Center are currently not supported, like Configuration Manager and also Data Protection Manager. So you won't be able, at least at this point, to use these two different components in managing your Nano server instances. Windows PowerShell itself, although Windows PowerShell is the tool for managing Nano Server, the use of Windows PowerShell has important differences you should be prepared for. I'll show you a couple of examples here coming up where the commands that you might be familiar with in using and implementing different management tasks there on a Nano Server just don't work in the same way. And other commandlets are necessary to do kind of similar things. So be prepared if you do plan on working with Nano Server that there is a slightly different flavor of PowerShell, just different commandlets that you'll be using and different ways in that you'll use them in order to support the management of your Nano server instances. And last, but definitely not least, is the requirement here for the CBB, or Current Branch for Business deployment model, anytime you're dealing with Nano server, and also the use or the purchase of software assurance there in your organization. Microsoft really does not want you treating these instances of Nano Server like pets. They really want you to treat them like cattle. And for that reason, they're going to require some pretty interesting and very different ways in which you manage these instances by virtue of the licensing requirements that they're laying upon you. In fact, let's take a little bit of extra time here and focus then on this Current Branch for Business, the whole support model that exists here when you're running servers under the Current Branch for Business support model. Microsoft calls this its cloud cadence support model, which really refers to the fact that they're doing very rapid development here on Nano Server itself. If you do implement Nano servers, you are then also required to keep those Nano server instances patched, and Microsoft plans on releasing feature updates roughly 2 to 3 times per year. When you do have those Nano servers, you need to make sure that they're at that current version for business, that current branch for business. And so legally, your licenses, your actual servers there, each Nano server itself, cannot operate more than 2 CBB releases behind. Now, the implementation, the delivery of those CBB release updates is not going to be automated. You'll have to manually update those instances when the releases happen, but you do have to make sure that you are up to that current version if you want to stay within that support model. Now, by comparison, the support and servicing for the long-term service branch, the other versions of Microsoft Windows, that support and servicing, the model there is a 5+5 year model. So 5 years of support and 5 years of extended support. This is different from 2 to 3 times per year. So if you do plan on using Nano Server, you're also setting yourself up for some pretty regular, rapid releases and rapid updates on those machines. You will want your applications also to be prepared for that rapid release cycle.